So welcome comrades, today we have a very special guest. It is Monika Karbowska, the Polish emigrant who, like me, live in France, but will not talk about Poland, will not talk about France. We will speak about Julian Assange because Monika participated in the trial of the Julian Assange, but maybe firstly, could you say something about you, present yourself?
Hello everybody, my name is Monika Karbowska. I am living since 30 years
Loudly,
in
please.
France, since 1992, so I am migrant since the capitalism of Poland started. And I am feminist activist since many years, and I am also communist. I have a big experience of many struggles against the capitalism in Poland, and also in the alter globalist movement in Europe. So since 2 years, I am in the movement. I am in the together with comrades of the Yellow Vests. I participate in the movement against the prosecution of Julian Assange. How I came to this as feminist, especially. When the Assange prosecution started, it means in 2010, I was not in favor of Assange. For me, as Eastern European activist, I understood very quickly that it was that the prosecution and the accusation that Assange was a rapist was something very strange. That probably that it was a provocation of the secret services. But in my opinion, he was a kind of prominent mediatic person, so he did not need my help because he had good lawyers, and it was not important to support him. After, in 2013, when Assange was in the so-called embassy of Ecuador, of the Ecuador state, when he was closed in this flat of 3 Hans Christian Street, I found this situation very strange. And yes, for me, I started to think that the situation is bad, but we had another struggles to do. In that time, I supported the revolutions in Africa, North Africa, in Tunisia. I was very engaged also in Eastern Europe to support the struggles, the new revolts against capitalism in Bulgaria, in Bosnia. So I was too busy to
engage.
Yes, to engage me in another struggle in the West. And still in that time, I was thinking that Assange had a good lawyer, and that the good lawyers will arrange the situation. But when in April 2019 he was kidnapped from the flat of 3 Hans Christian Street and taken in a prison, I don't know exactly what prison it was, because nothing is very clear in this situation of Julian Assange. In that time, I was engaged in the Yellow Vest movement, and I started also to think that something is very wrong, that we cannot let this situation be. Why? Because it was many bad precedents. If Assange will be extradited to the United States, it will be very, very dangerous for us, for Polish people and another activist of Eastern Europe, because we are also engaged against the American bases, American army in our countries. If Assange will be extradited, I can also be extradited. I can be arrested, and I can be also sent to the United States. So it started to be very important to stop this trial against Julian Assange, and especially because I am feminist. I understood also that the European arrest warrant against Julian Assange.
So you stopped when you started to speak about the European warrant.
Yeah, the European arrest warrant and the Swedish prosecution. As we remember, Julian Assange was prosecuted by the Swedish authorities because he was accused of rape by two women. And these two women accused him of rape in 2010, and he not only denied the rape but also told that it was a manipulation, and he accepted to talk with police and to go to police and to give his version about the relation he has with the two women, but the Swedish authorities started the prosecution with an European arrest warrant, and this European arrest warrant was sent to United Kingdom, and so Julian Assange was prosecuted in United Kingdom, and he was in prison in December 2010, and since then started the whole affair, the whole problem. What is with the European arrest warrant? The European arrest warrant was a procedure made by Merkel and Sarkozy against the working class in Europe. It was in 2008. This kind of fast extradition procedure was made to take the people, was a kind of tool of repression, of a fast repression. Because in European arrest warrant, you can be prosecuted by a foreign state, and you can be catched by the police in your state and sent immediately to the state which is prosecuted you, even if you don't have lawyer, even without the opinion of a judge, even if your human rights are violated in the first country. And this is something what happened every day. You can go to to the Westminster Court in London, and you can see how Polish people from the working class were, before the Brexit, were prosecuted by the Polish state and immediately sent with European arrest warrant from England to Poland without the judge. You know, this is this fast procedure. And I was also a victim of this when I was a victim of repression in Greece. I worked in Greece in 2008, 9 and 10 and as tourist guide, and I was engaged also in struggles as trade unionist in Greece against the exploitation of Polish and Eastern European migrants. And after that, I was victim of false accusations, exactly like Julian Assange. It was not a rape accusation, but it was something very strange, like in case of Julian Assange. And I was also prosecuted 4 years. And I was in danger to be arrested with a European arrest warrant hidden in France and to be sent to the Greek prison, even without a trial, without to know, without to be able to defend myself. So I understood that in the case of Julian Assange, the European arrest warrant was something very dangerous, and that something is wrong, that 10 years longer this guy is prosecuted by the Swedish. I understood that the lawyers of Julian Assange was not efficient. These people were not efficient. If you want to be efficient in the case of European arrest warrant, you must lose the problem you have in the country which issued the European arrest warrant. It means you must go to the country, have a good lawyer, and prove that you are innocent and so on. You cannot wait years, you know, that the procedure will be made to the end. And when I understood this, I engaged myself more in the case of Assange. So I read the documents of the Swedish case. It means this document of Julian Assange accusation was, they were published by a Swedish journalist in original. I found it in internet. And when I read these papers, I understood that not only Julian Assange was maybe not a rapist, but maybe he was a victim. Even maybe the documents was so strange that I found, I understood that not only maybe Julian Assange is not a rapist, maybe he even never had relation with these women. And today I am even not sure if these women existed. It means it was a total provocation, like a false documentation, you know, like somebody is writing about you a story, and in the base of this story, the story is a pretext for the authorities to start a prosecution against you. For example, one of these women was never appeared. These women never signed her deposition to the police. This Sofia Willem, nobody knows who she was, you know. And Julian Assange never also confirmed that he had these relations. This guy was always under the pressure of police, pressure of many people, so he was never also honest in this case. The only thing I know is that in these documents we can prove that he was innocent. And there were no single lawyer who was able to do it. And I found this strange. And so I joined the Yellow Vest movement. I was already in the Yellow Vest movement, of course, you know this because we were together. But in June 2019, I joined the Yellow Vest movement, the French people, French activists, who organized a bus to go to London to support Julian Assange by the trial, by the hearings started in London. And so I met the organization Wikijustice Julian Assange, which is a French organization, French association, made by people who were in the Yellow Vest movement. And we started to, to make a kind of inquiry about the situation. Who is Julian Assange? What was his history? What is strange in this case? And so we found that the lawyers of Julian Assange are not real lawyers, you know. For example, the woman called Jennifer Robinson, this woman is not in the bar association. She's not a barrister, and she's not a solicitor. You know that in UK you have two kind of lawyers, the solicitor and the barrister. She's not in one of the two association, you know. She hasn't a lawyer diploma, you know. So how you can be defended by people who are not real lawyers? This woman was not only a kind of person vitrina, you know. She was shown in the medias, but behind her, behind Jennifer Robinson, there are another lawyers like Mark Summers, or after I found Edward Fitzgerald. And many of these lawyers were also working for the Americans, you know. And we found suddenly that the lawyers are not real lawyers or are bad lawyers. So this is, when you have bad lawyers, maybe corrupt lawyers even, you cannot win your case. So we started to, we wanted to talk with Julian Assange. And so we started to find a way to meet him. And one of the women, one of the activists of the organization, this woman is a French activist. She writes every week to Julian Assange on the address of the Belmarsh prison, so-called Belmarsh prison. And suddenly she got this letter. This is the letter signed by Julian Assange, our activist of Wikijustice, got in August 2019. You can read here, thanks B, because B, this is the initial of her name. Thanks be for fighting for me. I am in a very dark place presently. Light up the night until victory. GA. And this is one of the, of course, this is a photocopy. The original is by the person by the activist. And behind, another side of the paper was this. Here you can see this is the prisoner number. And here you can see SOS in Morse. So help. Since we got this SOS from Julian Assange, we really started to fight, because you cannot leave somebody who sent you an SOS. You must go to the end of your fight. And the man who is in prison, who sent you an SOS to a person he does not know, it means that this man is alone. He maybe does not have lawyers or people who are close to him. He's maybe without friends, without family. And the family of Julian Assange is very strange, because you must know, but it's another analysis, that Julian Assange is a pseudonym. This is not his real name, and his real name, nobody knows. What is the real name of Julian Assange? Maybe Hawkins, the name of the first mother of Julian Assange. So, and it was summer, and nobody was really caring about Julian Assange. And so we started really to fight. It means we started to look who are the lawyers, to write articles. And after, in September, the 20th of September 2019, I was the first time in London by the first hearing. It was the third hearing since April. It was the first hearing of Julian Assange I participated in the Westminster Magistrate Court. So here is because you show it, I will just show this is the organization, WikiJustice, It was many people of the Yellow Vest signed the appeal, and we are a kind of group of people real fighting, like how to say, like a really human rights organization, because Amnesty International in that time never supported Julian Assange. Ligue des droits de l'homme and other organization of human rights, everybody forgot Julian Assange, or was thinking and writing that he's a rapist. So we were really alone in the first trial, And the dark place, he's talking about a dark place. And what is a dark place? It's a secret prison of USA. We were even looking if Julian Assange is not in Poland, which was possible, because in Poland we had a secret prison of the CIA, and maybe we still have secret prisons. Why not? It's possible. So we started to write about this, to make noise about the dark place, and something moved suddenly. And what moved is that more people were interested about Julian Assange, and people started to think that maybe he's not a rapist. It was very difficult in that time to mobilize people from the left, because most of the people of the left in the European Union, in England, in France, they were convinced that Julian Assange is a rapist. I had many problems with my feminist friends, because my feminist friends were really thinking that he's for sure rapist. Even without a trial, he's a rapist. Without condemnation. I am against this kind of how to say, prosecution of a person in the media, I think that the most important, you cannot accuse somebody to be a rapist without to make a real trial and to have proofs about it. And in the case of Assange, there were no single proof, and there were only many problems in the documentation. So after that, I was 24 times in London. I went 20, maybe even more, 26 or 27 times to London between September 2019 and today. It means I was I participated, I was present, I was a witness of 24 hearings of Julian Assange. 24, you can imagine. It means each month I took the bus, the Flixbus, to go to London. Sometimes 2 times in the month. In September, October, November, December 2019, in January 2020, in February. In February, I was all the week, between 24 and 27 February. I was in the Woolwich court in the big extradition hearing, and every day I was standing in the front of the court at 5 o'clock in the morning, queuing, making a queue, waiting in order to be able to enter to the court, because it was very difficult to enter to the court. Not only because the environment of the court was hostile of the people who want to support Julian Assange, not only because they were but also because many so-called supporters of Julian Assange were very hostile against me, you know. It means they wanted that you come with the yellow vests, but not to enter. They refused me to entering. I had many problems with a woman called Greek Emi. This Greek Emi was a kind of like a guarda. She refused people to enter to the court, and I was just asking how it's possible that a private person can decide who is entering a court. Court is public, you know, and justice should be public in a democracy. So it was very difficult to make this, but I achieved it. And in the Woolwich court, I could see Julian Assange 8 hours live, it means, because it was a few times when the court allowed Julian Assange to be really in person present. Usually he was only in video, you know, on the screen, so you cannot see on the screen if he's first you cannot see if he is the real person. Is this the real Julian Assange? Who knows? This is very far from your eyes. You cannot really recognize him. Second, you cannot see how he is, and he is a political prisoner. So we, as human rights organization, we must see. We must have an analysis of his health. You know, we even have a doctor, and this woman, the doctor woman, came with us, wrote 3 reports about what she saw of the appearance of Julian Assange, how he is he well or not, and so on. And we wrote many reports about the situation. We wrote also requests for release, documents about the rights of the human rights which are violated by the British authorities in case of Julian Assange, and we sent these reports to all people, you know, to the deputy, to the member of parliament to the member of parliament of Great Britain, of Sweden, of America, of Australia, of European Parliament. Wikijustice is acting like a kind of lawyer of Julian Assange. We are doing what the lawyers are not doing, and we also appealing to release him, because he should not be a hostage in a kind of secret prison. He is a hostage of a secret prison. He's not in Belmarsh, because in Belmarsh you can normally enter as family or friends. There is no problem to enter to Belmarsh. And when the lawyers tell, I cannot enter to Belmarsh, this is false, you know. It means that these lawyers are not doing their work. I know it also because we have advice of Polish lawyers, and you know that there are so many Polish migrants in London. They are, of course, Polish prisoners in Belmarsh. And they are Polish lawyers going, which are in British bar and barrister and solicitor, and these lawyers are going to visit the clients in Belmarsh. And every Polish lawyer told us that it's normal to enter to Belmarsh. It is not true that you cannot enter to Belmarsh. And the lawyers of Julian Assange always told, we cannot enter in Belmarsh, we cannot visit him, and so on and so on. So I am sure that these lawyers are not efficient, you know, and maybe they are even corrupted, because some of them worked in other cases in the favor of United States. So when I saw Julian Assange in the Woolwich court in February 2020, I could see that this man is under the influence of narcotica, of drugs, that he is not in normal, behavior, that he's wrong, he's in tortured. We can see that he's tortured. He has in his behavior you can see that something is very wrong, and this man should not participate in a trial, you know. He should be he should be released. That is the first. And if he is sick, he should be released, because you cannot judge a person who is sick. That is the first. After started the COVID started in March, so it was not possible to go to Great Britain, and I had also my own problems. But immediately after the border was reopened in July, I went again to the hearing the hearing of the 27th of July, the hearing of the 14th August, and the hearing of in October. In September, I was in the 3 days in the big trial in the Old Bailey. It was not possible for me to stay 1 month more because the big trial the big trial was all months between the 7th of September and the 1st of October. I stayed 3 days, but I could see, and I was one of the last person who saw Julian Assange in person, live, you know. It means I could enter. I made the impossible to enter, and I did it. I entered to the courtroom 10 in the Old Bailey. I could see Julian Assange. He looked at me. He could recognize me because I am always wearing the same clothes also, you know. And we are still writing letters also. And I showed him a sign, and I think that he recognized this sign. And immediately after that, I was fired from the from the room. But he could see me. This is very important, because nobody can really communicate with him, and the lawyers are doing nothing to make this easy, the way to communicate with him. You cannot see him even. The last time I saw Julian Assange alive, it was the 9th of September last year. Since then, nobody saw him alive, you know. Maybe he's dead. That is the problem, that a secret prison is that you cannot visit, you don't have letters, public declarations. If Julian Assange would be a normal prisoner, he has the right to make public declarations. He has the right to write letters. There is no single letter since November 2019. Nobody got a letter from Julian Assange. This is very strange. You cannot say that he's in Belmarsh in a normal prison, and he should not be in a normal prison, because he's not. He's in extradition procedure. In extradition procedure, normally the people are at home, and they are free when they are coming to trial. Nobody is closed like a hostage without being able to communicate with the people. So yes, so I was in London in October, in December last year, and I was also in January, the 4th of January, when the judge of the Westminster Court pronounced the discharge. It means she released Julian Assange. The judge Baraitser released Julian Assange and discharged him from the accusation leading to extradition, 4th of January this year. So normally Julian Assange should be free. He should just go out of the Old Bailey without nothing. And he's still a hostage. It means he never went out of the court, which is totally not normal, you know, and nobody say this, you know, that is not normal. From the legal point of view, Julian Assange is free. And the appeal is not possible, because for the extradition treaty between the United States and the Great Britain does not make possible to make an appeal. You have only one decision of a judge. The United States cannot make an appeal. And even if you won't make an appeal, you have 1 week, you know. So after 1 week, nobody made an appeal for Julian Assange case. So this prosecution is a kind of false prosecution, you know. And if you look inside the document, you can see also that United States, you don't know exactly who is prosecuting in Julian Assange. Which institution is really prosecuting Julian Assange in the United States? The grand jury. This is not a judge, a court. This is a kind of group of members of local parliament, you know. Grand jury, this is not, it is a special procedure of United States. It's a political procedure. This is not judgments, this is not a legal procedure. And this procedure, this grand jury, which is prosecuting, so-called prosecuting Julian Assange, is in Virginia state. Virginia state, it's a state of United States. But this state has not an extradition treaty with UK. So this is, in the legal point of view, everything is wrong, everything is false, you know. Everything is a kind of story, you know. And there are no single lawyer who tell this, you know. And this is obvious, you know. For us it's obvious. Even if I am not a lawyer, I am, you know, that I have a history diploma. So I can understand this, that it's like if one region of Poland will prosecuting somebody in France, but a region of a country has not an extradition treaty. A country should have an extradition treaty. And this in the extradition treaty, you have institutions. And these institutions has the right to prosecute somebody in another country. And in the case of United States, no Supreme Court is prosecuting Julian Assange. This grand jury in Virginia is something very strange, you know. It's maybe not existing, in my opinion. But I think, for me, as I see this, and I saw a lot of things in this prosecution, this is a kind of false story, all the prosecution. The false story is wrought for there are two goals of this false story. First, to make a precedence, to make a kind of legal way to extradite activists. And the second is to cover that Julian Assange is a hostage. It means a person who is in a secret prison, in a dark place, and not in a real prison, you know? This is how I understand the Julian Assange case. And every step I make, I have the proof of this, you know. For example, the Old Bailey. You know, the Old Bailey is the court in which the big extradition hearing was taking place. But the Old Bailey is not under the jurisdiction of the UK. Old Bailey is in the jurisdiction of the building, I am meaning, the building Old Bailey, is in the hands of the City of London Corporation. And the City of London Corporation, which is not the City of London, which is the City of London Corporation, it means the guild, the old guild of the banks, are the owners of this building. And even this building is the place in which the council administration of the City of London Corporation takes place, you know. This is very interesting. It means that somebody can just rent a room in Old Bailey and make a show, you know, inside. Because the criminal court, which is the other institution, the real UK institution in the Old Bailey, Julian Assange is not prosecuted by the old criminal court. You understand? Maybe I am not so clear. But what we have to look is that the big banks, the big business, are the hand on the Julian Assange case. This is not the UK jurisdiction. This is like how to say, like business mafia, which can lead this story, you know. They can rent a room, organize a kind of meeting. Who are the judge, you know? Vanessa Baraitser is a judge, nobody knows who she is. Baraitser, we have only a name. And you know that in the magistrate court, a simple citizen can be a magistrate judge, you know. That maybe this Baraitser is not the real Baraitser I can see, you see. It means that this woman was never presented to the people. They were never, her name, you know, on a table. Everybody can play the role of the judge, you know. And so we understood that the UK is a kind of strange state because the City of London Corporation is in the hands of the royal, of the Queen, you know. Historically, the City of London Corporation has a feudal relation to the Queen. It means the City of London Corporation is not obeying to the government, but only to the Queen. So we understood suddenly that the royal, the kings of UK has more power that we are thinking. That they have real political power. And they have the power to have hostages. It means people who are their own prisoners, like in the old feudal times, you know. So in my opinion, Julian Assange is in this kind of this power. It means the kind of the royals, like the British says. And the same was in the case of the hearing, previous hearing, now in the 28th of October. I was in London 1 month ago for this, and the appeal took place in the so-called appeal hearing took place in the Royal Courts of Justice in the old building. And this old building is neo-Gothic from the 19th century, is in the border of the city of London. It means I think part of the building is also in the hands of the City of London Corporation and not in the hands of the Minister of Justice. We must make these differences, you know. We can see these differences in the real life of the British, but many people in Great Britain are not aware about this. But if you make a serious inquiry, you see the power of the City of London, and this power is bigger than the power of the government. This is the most important. We have to understand. So maybe we can make a and I will end with the last hearing. So I went to London the 24th of October, and the last hearing of Julian Assange took place 27 and 28 of October in the Royal Court of Justice. It means in the old neo-Gothic building in the City of London, on the border of the Westminster city and of the City of London Corporation, the center of the Great London. But it's very interesting that it's always the City of London Corporation is very close to the trial physically. And so I went to London. It was very difficult because now it is not so easy to travel. It's not so easy to travel like last year or 2 years ago. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was standing hours from 5 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the front of the door of the Royal Court of Justice. I was waiting and long time I was alone. After came the people and the people of the so-called supporter team, which are very funny because these people were not present when Julian Assange was in the dark place and sending us SOS. And now that many medias, many televisions are coming, everybody wants to show that they are supporting Julian Assange. But when Julian Assange was accused to be rapist, nobody was there, you know. This is sometimes I was very alone. I was alone standing in the front of the court. And suddenly many medias came. The first media was Russia Today. I must say that the Russia Today was always there. Let's say always. Since October 2019, Russia Today was present. And they have many how to say, cameras, and suddenly there were very many televisions. The Reporters Without Borders came with some people of the Reporters Without Borders, one French activist, some English activists, and these people all this is the same. Reporters Without Borders, they were not present when Julian Assange was in the dark place, and suddenly they are here because many medias are there. And Christophe Deloire, the chief of the Reporters Without Borders, came also. He was only one time in the hearing of Julian Assange, and now he presents himself as the big boss of the supporter teams, which is very funny. Other people came. There were many tensions, of course. Some strange people came also. For example, the German embassy. Why is the German embassy coming to the hearings? I don't understand, you know. They were in the Old Bailey in September last year, and now I recognized the people. They are German diplomats. The Germans are very present, and they are German people from the diplomacy, you know, from the embassy, or from other people from institutions like German foundations. you can find the explanation who are these people in my blog, because I wrote articles about the hearings, and in my articles I also look who are the people who are coming in the public gallery. So at 9 o'clock in the morning the court was open. Of course, you must make a queue. You are always very tired. I was tired. It's very difficult, you know. That's why I am angry against the people who are making publicity of themselves using the Assange case, because I never saw people like Mélenchon coming to the court and standing queue with me, or Ruffin or other French politicians. These guys were never there. They are just comfortable in their country, and they are using the Assange name, but they never came to really look what's going on in this court. The hearing took place in a, you know, it's a neo-Gothic building, so they are old rooms with wood. Everything is very dark. It's a kind of strange atmosphere of an old trial, you know, like 19th century, like a big bibliothèque, and in this bibliothèque you have a courtroom, and the courtroom 4, the trial took place in the courtroom 4, and to go to the public gallery you must enter stairs, and these stairs are like in a big castle, you know, like in an old castle. You are really feeling that you are in the Middle Age, in a kind of Middle Age trial. Very strange. I stand 1 hour more, almost 2 hours, in the front of the door of the public gallery. And when the people, the employees of the court came, it means it was always private security agents. You never see real people working for a court. You always see private security agents. Even when Assange was taken to the court, always security agents around him. Never police, never public services, you know, always private. And these private people allowed to enter to all people who were standing behind me, but they refused me. I was totally discriminated. They told me, no, you know, you cannot. They even pushed me. It was very physically, you know. It's sometimes a physical battle, you know. You will push, you will like in the old queues, you know. They push you from the queue and you push them. It's a really fighting battle. No social distancing, you know, because there is no COVID anymore. And even by the COVID, they were total physically, a kind of physical battle. Of course, I protested. I called my comrades from the Wikijustice organization. They were witness of this. I protested. I told that it's a fake trial, that everything is violated, and this is a cinema theater. And suddenly something happened. They allowed me to enter. Suddenly, the woman, the private security came to me and told me, okay, come. And they opened the door and I could enter. Why? I never understand, but I think that this is because I had witnesses of Wikijustice, and they also now, the organizer of the show knows also that I will write an article about this, and maybe somebody found that it's better that I enter than that I protest in the front. When I came to the public gallery was a big kind of, it was like in a university, you know, you have many old, you have many seats, like 200 places, you know, and they allowed to enter only to 15 people. So you can talk about COVID, but there were plenty of place to be in the public gallery and to look from the you know, like you have like 20 meters and you have the downstairs. You look from the balcony. You look from the balcony to the downstairs to the trial. And they were a screen, and Julian Assange was only on the screen, and only 1 hour from 11:15 until 12:20 exactly. And you could not recognize if this is Julian Assange because it was only half of the screen, like this, you know, cut. The guy was cut in the middle. so you could only see half of the person. He had a black mask until the eyes, so how you can recognize a person with a mask, of course. And I know that Julian Assange hates masks. He always took this away when he was forced to have the mask. So the guy had a mask, and he was just like sitting like this, you know, so on the screen. So I could look on the guy sitting like this with a mask. I could not recognize it was really Julian Assange. Of course, it was far from me because I had something like 20 meters to look, and it was a small screen. What is interesting are also the behavior of other people in the public gallery. So I am in obligation to say what was John Shipton doing and Stella Morris. John Shipton was always looking at his telephone. The most important is his telephone. Everybody knows this, you know. When you see this person 20 times, like I saw him, always looking on telephone, making, you know, SMS messages with Sabine Dagelem, for example, this guy is always interesting on his mediatization, you know. He's not really looking at his so-called son, you know. And to be honest, when Julian Assange was physically present in the court, in the Woolwich, John Shipton never looked on him, and Assange never looked at John Shipton. It was like Assange does not recognize his own father, you know. So for me, sorry, John Shipton cannot be the father of Julian Assange. There is no communication between these two persons. There is no emotion. Shipton does not care about Assange. He's doing his own political campaign, to be honest. And the same with Stella Morris, which is another subject. Stella Morris was preparing her speech to the medias. He was looking on the paper. I was very close to her, so I could even look what was on the paper. He was reading a prepared paper, and he was changing some things to prepare his speech on the front of the media. She never looked on Assange. Sometimes, oh yeah, what's going on? Okay. Oh. And many people came to Stella Morris. She arranged her speeches, her publicity, you know, advertisement. This is a real show, you know, show for some people who are doing their own politics, you know, and now really caring about Julian Assange. What was in the court? In the court, the strategy, so-called strategy of the lawyers, was to make a psychiatrization of Assange. Assange is psychiatric ill, mentally ill. He is what was no other Asperger. He is autist. Come on, how can a lawyer make a psychiatrization of a political prisoner? All the political goals of Julian Assange disappeared, you know. The lawyers are making from him a psychiatric ill person, you know. This is totally false strategy in the case of a political prisoner. And the most important is that in Great Britain, in the law, you have the custody time limit. It means you cannot be in prison 2 years waiting to your trial. They are only 90 days. So you have 3 months. After 3 months, you must be released. And the most, the easiest, if these lawyers were real lawyers, they should just say, stop, the law was violated. 3 months, my client must be out. This is the same. Even the Polish lawyers are doing this. The Polish lawyers told me this, and I read this in the legal documents of Great Britain. 3 months, terma. It must be finished. The guy must be out. And Julian Assange is in 3 years in a secret prison. Okay, and he's psychiatric ill. I think, in my opinion, if the lawyers want them be closed in this psychiatric situation, you know, so maybe he's not in Belmarsh, but in a psychiatric institution already, you know. This is my opinion.
Wait. In Poland, when Mateusz Piskorski was arrested, every 3 months they make another 3 months. So they have meet each other in the court, and they said, okay, we need one more.
Yes, but he was accused of treason. And this is an extradition procedure. In extradition procedure, you don't have this in the law in the UK. If you are accused of terrorism, yes. But Assange is not prosecuted for terrorism by UK. He's not prosecuted by UK at all. He's prosecuted by United States, not by UK. In extradition case, you have a custody time limit of 3 months and nothing else. You cannot make it longer, you know. The guy must be out, or you must start another trial, you know, like but it must be a trial against. The guy must be accused of something, a crime, you know, a real crime. It means that he murdered somebody or he raped somebody. But there is no such case in case of Assange. He's not accused of crime. He's in an extradition procedure. And even the accusation, the so-called accusation of United States, the accusation was that he only published some documents, you know. So you cannot be held without custody time limit in the case of publication, you know. The procedure is a civil procedure, not a criminal procedure. This is the most important, you know. And every person who has a case in civil procedure is free, you know. Nobody should be in prison for this, you know, or prison or so, or even in the custody, you know. He should not be in custody for civil procedure. The second day, so I look at on this. Yes, Julian Assange disappeared at 12:20, and after he never came. So you know, so maybe in the afternoon he was there, but I was not in the afternoon in the court because I was very tired. The second day I came also at 5 o'clock. I stand all these hours queuing. Once again, I waited, and the same situation took place. It means I queued in the front of the public gallery door, and I was refusing. I was refused. They refused me. You know, everybody came, everybody could enter, you know. Reporters Without Borders, German embassy, some strange people. And after 15 persons entered, the guy from the private security told me, you know, like this, you know, everybody but you don't you. It's a real discrimination, open discrimination. Of course I protested. I called my comrades to have witnesses. Of course it would be better if I could have a real witnesses, but it's difficult to go to travel now, so the people cannot always travel. And that's it. I could never enter. And now we are doing complaint because it's an open discrimination. I protested I found the manager of the court, and so I told you what was strange in this case. When I told him that it's a discrimination, he told me, yes, madam, do the complaint, no problem. It was like, yes, it's the same like in the Old Bailey. The people who are working for this institution want that we make a complaint. Why? Because they know they are many strange things, they are illegal things, and they want that these things be an end to these violations, you know. So the guy was totally in favor for this complaint. So now we are writing this complaint. There is a law against discrimination in UK, and I can use this law from 2010. I can really use the law of against discrimination because it's a real discrimination. Everybody, but not me. You know. And after I visited the building because I wanted to found the administration of the court. So suddenly I understood that the real court was not in the old building, but in the new buildings from the 70s, from the 60s, which are just behind the old Royal Court of Justice. There is 2 or 3 another entrances, which are the real court. It means London County Court, Administrative Court, different courts, which are totally open. You can even enter in normally. You can just open the door to enter in a trial, you know, because everything must be open, you know. And suddenly I understood that the places in which the Assange case took place was a museum. It was the Museum of Justice. So it was even written in a big how to say plancha, in a big affiche.
Board,
yes. It was Museum of Justice. Sometimes in the old court you can have some cases. I look at on the schedule, but on this schedule of the administrative court is statuting about extraditions, There were some Polish or Lithuanian cases, you know, but one or two are held in the old building. All the other cases, it means 20, 30 cases each day, are held in the old building, in the new buildings. So there are many. You have 20 old rooms in the museum, or you can rent it. You can even rent it for a show. You know, you can make a movie, you can make a theater, what you want. You know, and that's why I understood that why the private security is there, because nobody is really private security are just carrying on the museum. They are not real court employees. You know, and with the COVID it's even worse. You know, because many cases are held on the screen, and you just communicate with letters, you know, with the court. So it's very easy to make a situation in which the people cannot enter, you know, in the old building, I mean. So this is the situation. I still think that Julian Assange is in a dark place or in a psychiatric hospital. Which psychiatric hospital, I don't know. I wish to know it, because it's illegal to hold someone in psychiatric hospital without, court decision, without illegal procedure. Nobody knows where exactly he is. When you hear the people who pretend to have seen him, everything is very not clear, you know. I saw him, but I don't know. I saw him 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No. If you have a visit to Belmarsh, you have 3 hours, and you can take your family, and everything is clear, you know. And you have organizations who are caring about the families of the prisoner. So I encourage the people who want help in the case of Julian Assange to go to the court, to go to look what's going on, to look on the people, to describe it, because many times I am alone, you know. I am just alone of the civil society. All these people who are coming, many people who are coming, are, let's say, paid to come, you know. Really, I saw even people taking money, you know, to make the demonstration, like the Titushki in Ukraine, you know. You know, after 2 years, you know some people, and you know the situations. And I was even witness of this, you know. And I am in obligation to say that some of the demonstrators, of the protesters, are also paid people. Some are homeless. I even saw in my own eyes that homeless people came, and organizers gave them the banner of Julian Assange. And for sure the homeless people are not doing this for free. Huh? And really, I have even pictures. This is totally crazy, but this is this. And the politicians never come to the court. No Jeremy Corbyn, nobody of this came. Corbyn never came to the court. Ken Livingstone was one time only. It was in October 2019. And I told you, Mélenchon, Ruffin, all these people never came. Because they don't want to queue 5 hours, of course. They will not pay. The so-called important people who are coming, like Christophe Deloire, they never queue. Why? Because they send poor people who are paid to make the queue, you know. This is the truth. This is the truth. This is I saw with my own eyes, you know. So, if you want help, come to the trial, come to look what's going on and describe what you see. I don't want to be alone. I am totally open to cooperation with everybody, and I think we can win this case if we show that everything is fake in the trial, but there is a real hostage, a real prisoner in the dark place. We make a pressure to the authorities and to find where is this dark place, and we will just make Julian Assange free. Because it's total illegal, that it's illegality that he is held in a secret prison.
Yes, I would like also to ask you about one thing, because we are from Poland, that in other countries, in France and in USA, there are people who are speaking about Julian Assange, about these cases. Of course, I can understand that they try to use Assange to make their political career, but I think that it is good that somebody talk about Assange. I have. I think that in Poland nobody talk about Julian Assange. No parties, any parties in Polish Parliament, any media, mainstream media or other medias also didn't talk about this. Do you think why it is? Why nobody in Poland? Why Polish leftists? They don't care about this.
Yes, it is true. You remember the 21st of October 2019. I was alone from who told about Assange, and we made a live from London at that time. You remember? And my article was published in Polish. I translated my article, and you Odrodzenie komunizmu was the one of the who published this article. Jerzy Szygiel, I think, wrote something.
Yes. In strike we can. But I'm speaking not about
the medias, but the medias, just Polish medias, are talking about Assange if they get some money for this. This is just this, you know. Look on what is real on the Polish medias. It means 2 years ago nobody was speaking about him. 1 year ago, nothing, but now they started. Why? Because some money is coming, you know. I think that this, you must understand that behind Julian Assange, he was always related to medias. Assange is a kind of mediatic person, always mediatic person. The Frontline Club, you know, the Frontline Club was the institution in which Assange held his speeches, conferences in 2010. This Frontline Club is an institution of the BBC. Behind the Frontline Club, inside the Frontline Club Charity Trust, you have guys of the BBC, you know, and of Canadian broadcasting. I am now writing articles about this. Assange was always mediatized. He was really like a, how to say, a star, you know, of the medias. Even the people from the neighborhood told me that you could never speak with Assange because he was always surrounded with so many medias, like a king, you know, yeah, like a prince, you know. There were many more cameras for him than to Prince Charles, you know. So to say that nobody speak about Assange, it's not really true. Nobody speaks about the reality of the trial. But the medias are repeating the same story. Ah, he is prosecuted, he will be extradited, he is dying. And it's a kind of defeatist propaganda, you know. It's like, don't do something because he will extradite it. He is psychiatric, he is a rapist. Don't look at him. So for me, the propaganda of the medias has the goal to show to the people that they makes no sense to move, they makes no sense to be activists. You must, they make us, how to say, habitués. We should to accept that we can do nothing, that we are passive, that we are powerless, you know. This is the real propaganda. In Poland was not so important country, you know, for the Assange case. So they just, the Polish medias, they, you know, that they take orders from abroad, of course. They are not independent. So the real masters told to the Polish journalists, don't speak about Assange. Ah, now you can, but you have to repeat the story, you know. That's it. That is my opinion. And look, really, you can look that they were, if the order was repeat that Assange is rapist, they repeated it. Don't talk about Assange. They were silent. Now, talk about Stella Morris. Everybody's talking about Stella Morris. You see? That is my impression. Nobody went, no single Polish media was in the court. And even if they are in the medias, they are not going inside, you know. They are just standing in the front.